exactly your proposals for to prevent criminals from getting tickets in elections, and how do you see this unfolding?
See, there are a number of ways, but primarily, Preeti, like I mentioned to you earlier also, it has to be done only by two ways. One is the judicial, and second is voter awareness. Because the political parties do not have a will, they are happy with the system. They deliberately grant tickets to roughly 1/3 of their candidates who have got money and muscle power because of the winnability factor. Because these guys, or I mean, he or she, they win elections. It is evident, the statistics bear it out. All the ADR reports we conduct after the election, we put out a thing of, what is the percentage of people with criminal cases versus people without criminal cases who have won elections. The figure is almost 1.5 to double of the people with criminal cases who win elections. So it is an established standard formula in our country. And that is why the politicians follow it. And the Supreme Court and the Election Commission, I may say, are rather soft on this. In the last judgment which Supreme Court gave, they mentioned that it is not in our jurisdiction to be making laws on this. The political parties have to take a call, and it is the job of the legislature to pass a law. Will they ever do it? They will never do it. And as far as the Election Commission of India goes, it again soft pedals these issues. If they want, they should impose strict penalties on the political parties. They don't do it. And unfortunately, they don't have the power to deregister a political party. They can only register political parties. So their hands are also tied.
That's one very important step that can be taken and which will work as a preventive measure in getting criminals getting tickets and all. And we've seen every year, according to your statistics, every year the number of criminals getting tickets is increasing. So it's not a very rosy picture out there. General Verma, don't you think there should be a minimum qualification for a public rep like MLA, MP, or a councillor, which we really don't have in our country? Every other profession requires a minimum qualification, but as public reps, politicians, you don't really require any qualification for that. And shouldn't it be performance based?
Yeah, that's an interesting topic, and a lot of people, and there's been a lot of discussion and debate on it. But again, there are two views to it. And incidentally, from the point of view of, some mandatory qualification for the politician, nothing is applicable to them. For a peon's job, you need police verification. You won't get a job if you have some case pending against you. And you have here guys getting elected from jails. Even now, somebody's got elected, you are aware, from UP.
Yeah.
So that part, as far as the educational qualification goes, certain parties, again, one of the national parties and all, they have mooted this thing, and they tried it in the panchayat elections. They said that, okay, for the sarpanch, he should be 10th pass or something like that, and for so and so it should be 12th pass, and they should not have more than 3 children, and so forth. But there was a big hue and cry raised. So the simple thing is that the constitution does not lay down any restriction. Any citizen of the country who's 25 years and above of sane mind can contest elections. So you cannot lay down this thing. And if you want statistics, as of now, amongst the MLAs, there are MPs. There are 11% MPs who are only 10th pass. Up to 10th pass, I mean. There are guys who are 8th pass, 5th pass also. And amongst the MLAs, there are 19% MLAs who are below 10th and below. So now they say, look, we have to make policies. We are not supposed to be having this thing, So there is some merit in that also. If you recall, there was a famous leader of Congress called Kamraj. He was illiterate, but he's the guy who's famous for the Kamraj plan. So all said and done, you cannot say that educational, this thing should be, we people, especially the city types, we feel no, it is important, isko padha likha hona chahiye and all that. But you see, it is important, undoubtedly, because what happens is if you are not clear yourself, then you are highly dependent on your bureaucrats to, brief you, advise you, and do the things. But I feel, and as is most of the civil society also feels, this criteria of minimum education should not be there.
Should not be there, you say?
Yes, not
should not, minimum qualification should not be there.
No, because it's not given in the constitution.
That's
and secondly, it is not necessary. If again I were to tell you statistics, we have done this study also. It is not necessary that people who are highly educated are less corrupt or less criminal cases. They are equally bad.
Yeah, okay. But these okay, now election commission is considered, more since quite a long time. Election commission comes out as a tool of the government of the day, and they say it really doesn't have teeth. Do you think it can somehow be immune to the government control? Has ADR recommended anything about that?
Yeah, we recommended a lot of things, but primary amongst them is that firstly, let me correct that perception. It is not that it's a tool of the government. Election Commission of India has been functioning fairly well. It is only the last few years that people of certain types have been elected or posted. But prior to that, it was functioning pretty well. And
will you like to call people being placed there?
Yeah, so who are a little, I would say, supportive of the ruling this thing. So it is not that they have a lot of powers under the Article 324 of the Constitution. They have a lot of powers, but they don't exercise them because they say that is the Brahmastra type of thing. But certainly, and incidentally, this is one of the PILs we have put up, I think, last year in the Supreme Court, again, which has not been heard. We have suggested that there has to be a collegium system for the appointment of the election commissioners and the state election commissioners. As you are aware, presently it is the executive, the Prime Minister and a couple of other people who decide who the election commissioners are going to be. So there has to be the leader of the opposition, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and maybe one or some other prominent people. And this collegium is the one which should elect the election commissioners. Secondly, they should not be given any jobs post-retirement. You have seen some of our guys have become ministers in certain dispensations. So if you give that sort of a thing, then they are eyeing that, and then their decisions while they are working may be colored. So these type of things have to be done to make it more effective. And so that's it as far as election commission goes.